Have you ever wondered why, after months of your patience, dedication, and sacrifices to keep them close, the moment you fall silent, stop texting, stop calling, they suddenly reappear? Your heart clenches with the question, was I ever truly important to them, or just a hollow distraction to pass their time? When you cease all contact, they pop up on your story views, send meaningless messages, and leave fleeting likes, as if only the breeze of your absence makes them aware they're still breathing. Isn't it a cruel joke? It's devastating when you pour all your love, patience, and hope into a relationship, only to be met with callous indifference. In the world of avoidant attachment, every rule of connection flips on its head. You give, they flee. You withdraw, they converge. You crave deep conversation, they crave silence. You spend your days consumed by thoughts of them. They spend moments barely remembering you. This isn't a mind game. It's a survival mechanism etched from childhood. Closeness is pressure. Distance is refuge. Imagine their psyche as an impenetrable fortress. Each affectionate message you send is like a brick pressed into that wall, suffocating them. But the moment you stop striking it, the wall doesn't crumble. Instead, it gazes back in curiosity. She's gone? Can I step forward now? Your absence isn't retaliation. It's a mirror reflecting the loneliness they've worked so hard to bury. If you find yourself sitting here, your heart pounding every time your phone remains silent, wondering if they ever truly cared about you, then this piece is your answer. We will uncover the hidden mechanics of avoidant attachment, why your silence wields such potent force, and how you can maintain your self-worth amid the whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Don't turn away, because the truth you've been seeking awaits right ahead. The moment you decide to cease all efforts, stop texting, stop calling, stop checking in, even stop quietly watching their stories, something paradoxical happens. The very person who always avoided your closeness suddenly appears in your digital world. It's as if your silence becomes an alarm that their defense system cannot ignore, prompting them to like your posts, view your stories, and occasionally send you a seemingly meaningless hey that makes your heart tighten. You ask yourself, was I ever truly important to them? Why do they only notice my absence when I disappear? This reversal of expectation tears apart your belief in fairness in love. You invested so much emotion, so much commitment, so much hope, only to be met with indifference and coolness, and yet they need only a moment of your silence to realize you are indispensable. This inversion is not simply a tactic or a mind game they intentionally play. It is the result of a neural architecture shaped since childhood. The avoidance system, where every protective gesture, every affectionate message, every confession of love is interpreted as a latent threat. When you are absent, the pressure dissolves. Their protective shell immediately relaxes, making room for a part of their brain that has long been suppressed. The exploratory, curious self wondering about the person who once was always there. In that moment, they think, what is she doing? Does she still think of me? Has she truly left my life? Those fleeting story views, delayed likes, and hurried hey messages are signs of curiosity rather than deep passion. But to you, the difference is nearly invisible when your heart is in turmoil. You feel the injustice. You have given so much and received so little. Yet precisely when you withdraw, you jolt them awake in the most intense way. Your absence, far from being cruel, becomes a mirror reflecting the emotional void they have long concealed. This not only explains why they reemerge, but also helps you recognize your own worth. You are not the loser in this emotional game. You are, in fact, the one holding the power when you learn to step back at the right moment. This reversal phenomenon is not only a lesson in their avoidance style, but also a reminder for you. In any relationship, presence is meaningful only when it is not taken for granted, and well-timed silence is the torchlight that reveals the layers of defense, fear, and unconscious longing that have long been dormant in your partner's soul. After witnessing the paradoxical reversal in avoidant individuals, when your silence suddenly jolts them back into your life, let us now delve deeper into their emotional control center, decoding the avoidant mechanism. From early childhood, when a child learns that love comes with responsibilities, expectations, and even the pain of unreciprocated affection, their brain begins to associate every sign of closeness with pressure, obligation, and the risk of losing autonomy. For the avoidant person, "I miss you" text, an affectionate message, or even a gentle touch in conversation is enough for their nervous system to emit a red alert. Threat detection regions activate, adrenal glands release stress, hormones, heart rate spikes, and the entire body readies for a fight or flight response. They are not intentionally cruel. Rather, their survival system has misread love as danger. When you proactively express affection, you inadvertently force them into defense mode. They are approaching. My safe zone is compromised. I must retreat to protect myself. Consequently, they withdraw, become silent, or respond coldly because for them, retreat is not personal rejection, but a physiological reflex to restore balance. Conversely, your well-timed silence and withdrawal act as a trigger for their nervous system to switch into exploration and curiosity mode. Devoid of the sensation of being cornered, their brain relaxes its vigilant regions, reduces stress hormone secretion, and activates the areas responsible for curiosity and the desire to connect. That is when you notice unexpected story views, belated likes, or a simple "hey" message, signals of curiosity. Not tender love, but to you, the distinction blurs amid emotional turmoil. You sense the injustice. You have given so much and received so little, yet it is precisely your withdrawal that awakens them most intensely. This concept echoes Stephen Porges's polyvagal theory, which delineates 3 states of the autonomic nervous system: sympathetic activation, arousal, dorsal vagal shutdown, immobility, and ventral vagal engagement, social safety. Avoidant individuals often oscillate between the first two. When you approach, they enter arousal and prepare to escape. When you persist without understanding their internal alarms, they may fall into shutdown. Silence becomes their shield. However, when you withdraw just in time, they are more likely to slip into social safety, where loving signals, gentle conversation, and warm expressions can be received and retained without triggering defense reflexes. From a developmental perspective, over decades, the avoidant brain has learned to invert every intimate gesture. A loving gaze can feel like entrapment, a caring question like a boundary violation. They would rather maintain distance for perceived safety than risk vulnerability. But from that very distance, with no demands on them, curiosity naturally stirs. They wonder what you are doing, whether you are happy, if they still matter to you or are merely a background character in your story. The transition from defense to curiosity does not happen instantly but unfolds in stages. First comes absence recognition. They notice you're not there and reevaluate your importance. Next is lowered vigilance. After days without messages, the phone's silence no longer hijacks them. And finally, active curiosity. They revisit your stories, like old posts, and send tentative messages. This cycle repeats each time you leverage silence, acting like an innate biological clock that you unknowingly wind up. Understanding this mechanism frees you from feeling helpless in the face of mixed signals. You realize that silence is not merely punishment, but a form of dialogue with the other's nervous system. You are not testing their affection, but giving their brain the space to recalibrate, to shift from defense to safety, and ultimately to curiosity, wanting to know more about you. When you grasp this process, you hold the key to balancing presence and distance, forging a relationship no longer marred by exhausting chase scenes, but defined by genuine, lasting connection. Having just decoded how avoidant individuals' nervous systems flip between flight response and exploration mode in response to affection, let us now shift into part 3 to observe the entire phenomenon through the shadow metaphor. Imagine the avoidant person as an invisible shadow that trails behind you whenever you move. The more you chase the shadow, texting relentlessly, calling incessantly, appearing in every small moment, the farther the shadow retreats toward the horizon of your world. But when you stand still, release the pursuit, and simply hold your ground, that shadow naturally drifts back toward you, as if drawn by an unseen gravitational pull. That pull is your silence, your autonomy, your value discovered in absence. The shadow metaphor vividly illustrates how avoidant individuals react to your motion. When you keep moving, flooding them with messages, never-ending calls, constantly showing up, your nervous system triggers their threat alarm, signaling that you are invading their personal space. Like a shadow distancing itself rapidly from its light source when you move too fast, they also withdraw to protect their freedom. Yet shadows have no power of their own. They merely mirror your actions, and when you cease motion, they must return to their origin. Likewise, when you fall silent, when you stop trying to control the relationship with messages and over-eagerness, the defense system of the avoidant person is no longer activated. Their curiosity switches on, and they begin to sense the void left by your withdrawal. Let us examine the dual dynamics of this metaphor. You, yearning for reciprocation, are like the brilliant light source, striving to envelop the shadow with continuous presence. They, driven by self-preservation, are that shadow responding to light by hiding, yet the moment light is switched off, inevitably gravitating back toward its source. The shadow's movement is not a journey of power, but a natural consequence of the light's position and state. This realization is crucial for you. You need not shine blindingly nor exert yourself for effect. What matters is knowing when to turn off the light, to relinquish the chase, and let the shadow reflect its own longing. Moreover, the shadow metaphor reveals the inherent asymmetry in a relationship with an avoidant partner. Your light can fade at any time, but the shadow will always adjust, retreating or advancing, according to whether you shine. Consequently, you hold all the agency. You decide when to turn the light on or off. You choose when to stop pursuing. That is the key. Rather than plunging headlong into an exhausting chase, you use stillness as the steering mechanism of the other's emotions. By withdrawing, ceasing messages and social media interactions, you not only give their nervous system breathing room to exit defense mode, but also compel them to recognize the significance of your absence. Finally, consider the shadow metaphor as a liberating reminder. You are not a rat in an emotional maze. You are the light source with the power to switch on and off. Rest assured that the shadow will obey the fundamental physics law when the light ceases. The shadow cannot continue receding, but must return to the source. Similarly, in a relationship with an avoidant personality, by transitioning from pursuit to intentional silence, you activate an invisible law of attraction. The emptiness will pull them back toward you. Only then will you truly grasp their inner workings and maintain equilibrium, a relationship built not on one-sided effort, but on grounded understanding of the psychological processes at play. Now that the shadow metaphor has vividly depicted how your silence and movement govern avoidant reactions, we transition to part 4, the 3 critical shifts that occur inside an avoidant psyche when you withdraw. Equipping yourself with neuromechanism knowledge or the light and shadow imagery was only the beginning of uncovering their inner world. Let us now identify each step that unfolds within them. Whenever you decide to create distance, absence creates awareness. Safe distance lowers defenses, and curiosity replaces fear, seemingly simple phases that possess the power to transform how they perceive the relationship with you. First, absence creates awareness. When you are constantly present, texting, calling, appearing in every little moment, they may have grown so accustomed to that rhythm that they treat it as an unremarkable constant. However, the instant you stop, no notifications, no check-ins, your absence becomes like a stone dropped into calm water, generating ripples that echo back. In that instant, they begin to realize you had become an inseparable part of their daily routine. Their eyes hover over the phone in anxious anticipation. Their heart jolts at the missing familiar ringtone. Absence is not merely meaningless silence, but a blank canvas compelling them to inscribe your name among their priorities. Next, safe distance, lower defense. When affectionate messages and meeting requests accumulate, they feel their personal space invaded, and their self-protection reflex erects invisible barriers: silence, indifference, avoidance. But when you withdraw, those barriers soften. They are no longer caught in a loop of obligation to reciprocate. In the stillness, their brain eases its vigilance, stops flooding with high cortisol levels, and their breathing steadies. That is the moment they feel sufficiently safe to lower their guard, allowing themselves to think of you not in defensive mode, but with calm openness. Finally, curiosity replaces fear. Once the tension of defense subsides, another part of the brain awakens, the area linked to exploration and the desire to understand. They ask themselves, what is she doing, being so silent? Is she living a more exciting life where I am absent? Do I still matter in her world, or am I just an invisible wanderer? This curiosity doesn't carry the burden of fledgling love, but it is enough to spur them into action, revisiting your stories, scrolling through old photos, or hastily typing "hey" on their phone. This marks the beginning of a renewed cycle of discovery, seeing you not as someone begging for attention through texts and calls, but as someone capable of decisively letting go and mastering their emotions. These three transitions, awareness, safety, curiosity, combine into a driving force capable of entirely altering an avoidance behavior. Understanding this sequence grants you active advantage. You no longer tremble at their sudden reactions, but know precisely when to pause, when to maintain distance, to allow these internal processes to unfold in proper order. And once these three shifts have occurred, you are ready for the next chapter. The painful paradox: the avoidant only remembers you when you stop remembering them, only chooses you when you stop choosing them, a psychological twist that jolts anyone into recognizing their own worth. Once the three shifts: absence, creating awareness, safe distance, lowering defenses, and curiosity replacing fear have fully taken effect, we arrive at part 5, the painful paradox of the avoidant style. They only remember you when you stop remembering them. They only choose you when you stop choosing them. This paradox is not a deliberate mind game, but the outcome of a survival chain triggered whenever an avoidant individual senses that an emotional connection threatens their autonomy. Initially, when you cease messages and calls, their awareness system jolts, registering the void you've left. This isn't a conscious realization of your worth, but an automatic survival signal. She's no longer here. Is it safe for me to step forward? At that moment, their anxiety centers quiet, their curiosity network ignites, and a survival instinct drives them to observe you as essential information. They do not choose to recall you willingly. Instead, your silence initiates a cascade of automatic responses, compelling them to note the change and ask themselves, what is she going through? Does she no longer care about me? Can I reach out to verify? Subsequently, when they hurriedly type a brief message, like a post, or view your story, those gestures do not signify deep affection, but are mechanisms of survival, amplifying the signal of your relationship's existence to ensure it isn't truly severed. However, the instant you revert to your former pursuit, texting incessantly, calling repeatedly, displaying anxiety, their nervous system perceives a threat, and their avoidance reflex reactivates. They withdraw, grow cold, or evade you. This cycle repeats in a loop. Your withdrawal awakens them. Your pursuit drives them away. Unlike a deflationary spiral, there are no winners or losers here. Only two survival systems perpetually balancing between safety and threat. When you vanish, their curiosity mechanism engages. When you return, their defensive system intervenes. You, caught in frustration, wonder whether to keep chasing or linger in silence. Understanding this dynamic reveals that any attempt to force them to choose you immediately will be rejected by their defense system, while perpetual silence risks them assuming you are gone for good, causing them to shift into a shutdown mode to protect their psyche. The key is that you cannot simply disappear indefinitely and expect them to come back. Prolonged absence risks them permanently disengaging. Instead, you must master the timing of your disconnection and reconnection, in tandem sending signals short enough to trigger their survival instinct without reigniting their defense reflex. This is the art of regulation. You maintain their memory of you through brief absences, yet never pressure them so much that they retreat again. Ultimately, this painful paradox tests an avoidant's limits of autonomy and offers you the chance to affirm your own worth. Only when you stop remembering them, stop expecting reciprocation, do you truly command your own emotions. You are not the one losing out, but the director of an emotional play, generating enough attraction for them to return on their own without your desperate pursuit. Grasping this principle frees you from the gain-loss cycle and elevates the relationship to a state of conscious, serene interaction where emotional bonds are governed not by mere survival reflexes, but by mindful engagement and inner peace on both sides. And that is the story of relationships with an avoidant partner. A cycle of giving and withdrawing, of pursuit and silence, culminating in the paradox where they only show up when you step back. Fully understanding the neural mechanics, embracing the shadow metaphor, and recognizing the three pivotal shifts: absence creating awareness, safe distance lowering defenses, curiosity replacing fear is your key to navigating this emotional maze. Yet true victory does not lie in when will they text back, but in your ability to stand firm in your own worth, regardless of delayed or fragmented responses. Harness the power of silence intentionally, balancing distance with connection to carve out a secure space for both of you. In doing so, you maintain equilibrium, no longer hastily chasing, no longer dependent on their feedback, and free to revel in a rich, fulfilling life. Now, the final word to you: place your autonomy and self-respect above all else. When you live fully with your passions, goals, and joys, you become a steady source of light for yourself and inspire your partner or anyone to willingly come to you rather than run away. This is the healing journey, not waiting for someone else to change, but first becoming indispensable to yourself.